So the book that is coming out in November that I authored is actually the second edition of the book that I have, which means I have a book that's out and I had to change a third of it to create a second edition. And what we did was ask professors and people who use the books to give us feedback on what would improve it. And part of what they did was ask me to expand on what contexts are like in schools, and to do a lot more stressing of the kinds of information literacy that students need to know. So this book is about integrating technology in the classroom. It's understanding that there are many, many ways to do it, and that teachers just need to focus on what they already know and use that as a launching pad for doing things with students. The students then will be able to use technology in ways that will support how they learn. And so in the book there's a lot about learning, how students learn, and then how technology can support that learning. So it's not about technology for technology's sake. Well, I just finished doing a dissertation study on how technology is being used in some classrooms. And so what I saw in the 4 C's, that supports exactly what I've been saying needs to happen in classrooms. But there's also the whole area of digital literacy that needs to be strengthened. And in my experience, digital literacy is an area where teachers are often not prepared. And so I would love to stress that in order to use the 4 C's, they're going to have to also be very good at teaching digital literacy. So from my point of view, one of the challenges teachers have is that their students may have access to a lot of devices or may have access to technologies that are not familiar to the teacher, and that a teacher has a big responsibility to make sure that all students have equity and an opportunity, similar opportunities across the board. And in my experience, students in poverty don't have that kind of background, and therefore we need teachers to understand that some of their children may not have had the same kinds of experiences as the middle class students, and therefore they need to be prepared to find ways to balance that out and be more equitable. I think that's difficult for teachers who generally teachers have not come from poverty, and so they're not really conscious of how poverty has affected students. So that's an area where I think teachers need a lot of support, not because they don't know how to do it, but because they are perhaps not aware of the needs of students. I think a teacher needs to possess curiosity most of all, because then teachers are willing to get to know children one-on-one and get to know children's settings and children's context. And it's that personal connection between a teacher and a student that creates learning opportunity. And if you don't have those connections, then children are not as likely to learn. So one of the biggest things they need to have is curiosity about children, not just a love for children, but a curiosity about knowing individual children and the context of their lives. I think also that a challenge for teachers is understanding that their personal use, and I'm speaking now about technology, their personal use of technology is not necessarily good technology pedagogically. And so they need to understand how children learn and how technology supports how children learn, and that may be different from the things that they use in their own personal life. So this is all my theory. After doing my dissertation work, I believe that the biggest challenge in a school for taking advantage of all the things they have, whether it's just a few things or a plethora of things, I think the biggest challenge for them is having somebody to mentor teachers in their jobs and not just depending upon professional development. Professional development overall doesn't work for helping teachers take advantage of the systems they have. But if we want teachers to be better at pedagogy, if we want them to be better at using technology to support children, if we want them to be better at meeting those 21st century skills, we need to embed mentors in the schools whose full-time job is to help teachers improve as teachers and as teachers using technology to support children. So I think in educating a good teacher, first of all, we have to understand that Malcolm Gladwell has said that it takes 10 years to make a master. And we in education seem to think that teachers, pre-service teachers can come out of a university and right away be very good at teaching. And that's just not possible. That's not realistic. We need to make sure that in our schools, once we have teachers in place, we have others who will support them and come alongside them and teach them, help them to self-assess where they need help and then provide that help for them. So we can't put the burden on the teacher to always know how to do these things. We need to be providing masters who can help teachers become masters themselves so that they can foster other teachers. I have no idea. I know that in any school you will have teachers who are veteran teachers and you will have new teachers. And among the veteran teachers, there are likely to be people who are masters at how students learn. They are not necessarily masters at how technology supports student learning. So that's why a mentor who is somebody who knows how children learn and who knows a bit about technology as a tool to help children learn, that mentor can help support veteran teachers who just need the technology knowledge and young teachers who need to know how kids learn. Because young teachers still don't have a good handle. They don't understand right away what is good learning and what is just fun in the classroom. My experience with teachers who are veterans is that they often aren't unwilling to use technology to support learning. What they need is to see models of how to do that effectively. So my experience, my most veteran teachers, when I was a mentor for teachers in a school, my most effective work was with the teachers who already knew how to teach. They were veterans. So I could say to them, what are we wanting kids to know, and how do you want them to show that what they know? And then I could say to them, here's a tool and I think it might work, and they could automatically connect the tool with their content with the pedagogy. They were very good, but they needed somebody who knew the technology. I had less trouble with those teachers than I did with young teachers who already thought they knew how to use the technology, but didn't know how that technology should fit into a classroom. And then what I was doing was I was helping those teachers not necessarily know the technology, but know how that technology could be used effectively for learning. Well, I am thinking that there are good things and bad things. So I'll start with the bad things because they come to mind right away, and that is a large amount of knowledge does not mean a large amount of correct knowledge. So there is a lot of knowledge available through technology that we did not have before and that we are overwhelmed with. And so the vast amount of knowledge can overwhelm us, and unless we have skills to evaluate what it is we see online or hear or read, we don't know how to handle that mass amount of information. On the other hand, once we know how to read and evaluate, then having that information available instantly or nearly instantly is invaluable because it speeds things up. Another thing that technology does is it does provide some efficiency, saves some time and labor for teachers and administration in capturing data. So it doesn't take as long to capture data, and we have then more time to analyze it and to understand how it has impacted students.